This is the biggest market for soybeans in the world by far, and there's not even another one even close.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the State of Soy. I'm Aaron Putsey. We're here at the Iowa Soybean Association in Ankeny. I'm visiting with Grant Kimberly. Grant's a farmer, also serves as the Senior Director of Market Development for Iowa Soybean Association. And Grant, you were recently in California, one of a number of Iowans who joined in some discussions and meetings out there when Chinese President Xi visited the United States as part of a broader meeting among economic leaders from Asia and the Pacific, and also a meeting with President Biden. You were there for a very specific reason. What was that?
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. I was invited to go out along with another half dozen to a dozen Iowans and other people who had connections to China to meet with President Xi as well. And we had that opportunity to meet with him briefly on the side of the Asia-Pacific Summit. We had people that were there who had met President Xi in 1985 on his first trip to Iowa, and then again in 2012, and that one was the one, of course, where we'd hosted him on our farm when he was then vice president. And so they wanted to meet with what they call their friends from Iowa, and it was an opportunity to talk, meet and then talk about issues important to our state.
So what did you bring up to President Xi when you were in California?
Of course, we didn't have a lot of time, but the brief time that we did have, I talked about we value the relationship with China on agriculture trade, and the soybean industry's had a long-standing relationship working in China since the mid-1980s, and we continue to look forward to working with the industry and working to feed the people of China and provide a safe and affordable and secure and sustainable food supply, and specifically soybeans, to the country.
Why is that connection between them, between the U.S. as it relates to soy and China so vital?
You know, in general, Chinese, Asians in general, they value personal relationships, and so we've been very respectful and put a good foot forward when we met with President Xi and others from China and other parts of Asia in the past, and that's a valuable thing to that culture. And of course, this is the biggest market for soybeans in the world by far, and there's not even another one even close. 60% of the world's globally traded soybeans go to China every single year. About 30% of all the soybeans we grow in the United States get exported to China every year. So it's very important that we maintain the relationship there and work with the industry and work with that country, and this was another opportunity to further that relationship. There's 1.4 billion people in China. They have about 20% of the world's population and only about 8 or 9% of the world's arable or croppable land. So they have an issue feeding their people. But they do have a strong cultural desire to consume a lot of pork, and as incomes improve in a place, they add more meat to their diet. And so pork, poultry, aquaculture, fish, you name it, beef even, all those are growing demands in China, and they have a large soy processing industry, and so they need a lot of soybeans to process into animal feed to feed their livestock industry. And of course, the oil then also goes into the cooking sector as well.
How do you respond to kind of a frame of mind that would be, hey, relationship's a relationship, everything though is about the bottom line. China would import beans regardless. What do you say to that? Why is that personal relationship, that touch, so vital?
Well, as an example, leading up to this summit, the week before and the week of, China purchased over 3 million metric tons of soybeans over that period of time. And actually, if you look at the global prices as they were at that instance, the U.S. was more expensive than South America and Brazil. And so they purchased extra supplies of soybeans at a more expensive price because they valued the upcoming meetings and relationships and connections that were going to be made that particular week, not just with our group of Iowans who attended this meeting, but also with President Biden, who was there for that meeting, and also had a side summit with Chinese President Xi.
We in the United States, we're home to about roughly 2 to 3% of the world's population. The world's getting a lot scratchier out there, and yet we are so dependent on global trade to move soybeans because we're so good at growing soybeans. Where do you see this heading over the next year or two?
Yes, we've had our challenges with China. We'll continue to have those challenges, and that was even addressed specifically by President Xi to our own group. Here we are, a group of Iowans. He was talking to us about his meeting with President Biden. He gave us his readout of that meeting. And he said it was a positive meeting. They had some concrete action items that they worked through. But what was obvious is they want a better relationship with the United States. At least it appears that's what they want, because they were very positive. Their media is actually part of their government at times. They were very positive. So he talked about that. And so we need to continue to build those relationships. And the best way to stay out of conflict is to have economic and trade ties. And so by doing this actually helps further the conversation, I think, because their economy has had some challenges, and this helps with that part of it. Of course, for our agriculture economy, it's a big, important market for us. So we continue those conversations. Then the rest of the world, we continue to look for other markets and develop other markets around the world, because we want to diversify as much as possible our market opportunities around the world. You can't completely diversify away from 1.4 billion people. But we will continue to work and do that. But China's going to be important for the foreseeable future for agriculture and for farmers. I recently came back from Egypt here a couple months ago, and I'll go to Colombia, South America here pretty soon too, to continue to further those trade ties.
So driven to deliver, it's a mantra here at the Iowa Soybean Association, and that means getting out of the country, developing relationships, making sales with soybean buyers all across the globe. And it's a priority for Grant on our demand portfolio as well. Reporting for this edition of the State of Soy, I'm Aaron Putsey.
Progress is a human invention. We look at our world and we imagine how to make it better. That's the power of human ingenuity. We can redefine what's possible. At Bayer, we're shaping the future of agriculture, like farms where all life grows together. It's not impossible, it's progress.